Hi everyone, welcome to week 4, where we're going to be talking about the culture of capitalism. This week, I would like to focus our discussion around what's been happening in the stock market. Now, there have been a whole bunch of terms being thrown around, mainly short sell and short squeeze. Now, I've gone into more depth about that in my post, but essentially what's happening is that these hedge funds right here are hoping that GameStop fails, because if GameStop fails, their stock price drops. And by dropping, these guys are going to be making billions. Now, what's happening is that a whole bunch of private investors have been actually investing in GameStop and buying up stock. And by doing that, they've been actually driving that stock price up. So now by driving that stock price up, these hedge funds are now losing billions. Now, I must preface that this sort of transaction happens commonly in the capitalist market. Essentially, companies are betting on one another to fail. So with that introduction, I'd like to introduce my first question. What do you think it says about a society/culture where one can profit off the failure of others? So my next question has to do with who actually benefits from a capitalist society. So there are a whole bunch of hypotheses about why a whole bunch of small-time investors are actually driving up the price of the stock and essentially screwing over big hedge funds. One of these hypotheses is that there's a sort of residual anger against some of these large Wall Street firms that have been held since the financial crisis of 2008. So this message right here is actually linked in my original post. I suggest everybody go read it because it's a very, I would say, compelling read. But to paraphrase the author, in reference to the financial crisis of 2008, this person says that these financial institutions were bailed out and rewarded for terrible and illegal financial decisions that negatively changed the lives of millions. And now, describing the event that's happening at the current time, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to punish the sort of people who caused so much pain and stress a decade ago. Now, with that message in mind, my next question is, do you believe that one class plays by a different set of rules than that of others in our society? Why might that be or not be the case? Now, in contrast to the last post about some of these investors using the stock as a form of, I guess, protest against the larger hedge funds, decided to do a little digging into Wall Street bets and essentially understanding the culture a little bit. So by doing this digging, I've seen a sort of contradiction of what they actually preach and what they actually do. Essentially, the users of Wall Street bets have a very nihilistic look towards money. Now, there's a certain term, and hopefully you can see here where my mouse is hovering, but it's called YOLO. So YOLOing is essentially putting one's entire life savings into risky bets and then basically posting about the gains and losses they made afterward. So fellow users will generally either praise or just generally make fun of the poster depending on basically how large or how small their gains are. Now, I make this argument in my post that this kind of cheerleading on and posting and essentially boasting about gains and losses can be seen as a form of consumerism. Which leads me to my next question. Would you consider this event essentially a rallying cry against capitalism? Or is it just basically an extension of it? Thank you for your time. I look forward to everyone's discussions this week. And yeah, hopefully everybody has a good one. Cheers.